Good evening, welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing, where we're going to be looking at the card at Haydock Park, also look at one race at Ascot and one at Lingfield. So it's Betfair Chase Day tomorrow at Haydock, the first of the Triple Crown. So we'll look at that race in detail. It looks set up to be a real belter of a race. We see the first two from last season's Cheltenham Gold Cup take on each other again, so that's going to be real interest. Of course, totally dynamics of the tracks are completely different, and we'll speak about that as well. Last week, of course, we had Cheltenham's November meeting, 3 days of top class racing. For myself, the Saturday, fingers burnt, rocked the Casbah one, which I had, as I spoke about last week, I talked myself out of backing that. I think it won at 91 or something. Also was a little bit annoying not listening to myself again in the vlog when First Assignment, who's running again tomorrow, and Speedo Boy went in there for Ian Williams for a nice wee double 64 and 41. Did I back it? Whatever. So I need to start listening to my vlog more than just talking to it, and should listen back to it more to convince myself. But anyway, it wasn't to be, and even more so on the Sunday. The Brian Ellison horse that won the Greatwood. Enough said. We'll not go into that one. Right, so let's move on and look ahead. That's all the best you can do when it comes to punting, is look ahead and think of the future, and hopefully that those winners will come trundling in tomorrow at Haydock. So we're going to look at 3 races at Haydock. I'll leave the Betfair Chase until the last of the 3. The first race we'll look at is the 150 at Haydock Park. The Betfair best odds on ITV Races handicap hurdle. This over just shy of 2 miles, 3 furlongs here. At the head of the market is Harry Fry's Black Mischief. You've got Admiral Barratray in there as well. But the horse I'm going to look at is it's one of Paul Nicholls' horses. Surprise, surprise, on a Saturday handicap. But this horse for Paul was given a run during the summer over the flat, and ran really well in the Mallard. The Glasgow Warrior ran really well that day as well, and finished 6 of 14 in that race, but had shown actually winning the flat at Haydock back earlier in the summer. So it was quite, Paul wasn't shy in running it under Megan Nicholls pretty regularly on the level. Its last run was in the Cesarevich, where he finished well down the field, it has to be said, but with blistering pace in that race. So it'll be fit and ready for a hurdling campaign, and the ground it's unusual for Haydock to have good, decent ground at this time of year. I know more so when you get into the couple of meetings that they have in January, when they have the Grand National Trial, for example, and that other race that always Fred Whittle, was it? That race as well, when it's always a right slog, but it's pretty good, decent ground there. So Cliffs of Dover is, of course, Harry Cobden takes a ride tomorrow. He's trading around about 13 to 2 at the moment, and I think having that flat campaign will set it up nicely for this race. It's a tough assignment, no doubt about that, but I think it has a fair chance there. Cliffs of Dover in there for Paul Nicholls. One other one that I think will appreciate the better ground is Magic Dancer for Tom O'Brien and Kerry Lee. This has had a few fair efforts. Last time out at Ascot probably was disappointing, stepping back up in trip slightly, and I think that will be advantageous to it. It won over the extended 2 miles at Cheltenham at their April meeting on decent ground, so that might be one at a bigger price. Well, not a biggish price, 10 to 1 there, but I do like Cliffs of Dover in that race. Going on to the 225, it's the Betfair Exchange Steers Handicap Hurdle, Grade 3 race, over 3 miles. And first assignments back here for Ian Williams and Tom O'Brien after that success at Cheltenham last weekend. Ian Williams spoke about this race after its victory at Cheltenham. Felt he was obliged to run it in this race, take advantage of the fact that he's going to run under a £5 penalty, but it would, with the manner it won at Cheltenham, you would be looking at it and thinking, right, the handicapper, when he gets a hold of it, will not judge it too well. So I think the idea is for Ian is to get it out here quickly. I assume, as he said at Cheltenham, that as long as the horse is sound and everything that comes out of that race at Cheltenham fine, which it seems it has, then he's going to take its chance here in this race. And then he'll probably get a break, and we'll probably not see this horse until after the new year. But yeah, it's been in, as I say, those 2 victories at Cheltenham in the November and in the October meeting has really set the horse up well for this season. Again, it's a horse that seems to appreciate the decent ground as it faced at Cheltenham in both its victories. It won over 3 miles at Cheltenham. The 3 miles isn't as stiff as you're going to find here at Haydock than it is at Cheltenham, but it's won over 2 mile 5 as well. So I think it's got stamina there, and it'll be nice on its toes. Paisley Park's going to be one of its probably one of its main rivals, the Emma Lavelle horse. That one, I seen it won at Aintree last time out, under Aidan Coleman, who takes a ride again tomorrow. And this has fair form to look at as well, and is obviously after that victory last month at Aintree, it's going to come into this race in good form. The other one that I like, again, that might appreciate this race, well, Folsom Blue for Gordon Elliott's coming over. It's done a lot of its work over the likes of pretty smart over the bigger obstacles, ran in the Irish National in fact, and didn't disappoint, was 4th in that race. So it's going to be, as an 11-year-old, that's a big question mark that I have about that one. So I really, at Paisley Park's a horse that after I seen it win at Aintree, I thought to myself, that's one to look at for the next time out again. But after seeing first assignment last weekend, Ian Williams' horses seem to be really still going very well, as was proven with Speedo Boy as well last week. I just edged that over Paisley Park, and that one in the 225. Now, 3 o'clock is Betfair Chase, the old Lancashire Chase, of course. That's Grade 1. As I said earlier, that's the first of the Triple Crown for these 3 mile plus chasers in the higher echelons of the game. And it's set up really well. We've got Mike Bite here, the runner-up in the Cheltenham Gold Cup, who's currently trading around about even money with the likes of Bet Victor at the moment. And you have the winner of the Cheltenham Gold Cup in Native River, who's around about 11 to 4. You have Bristol de May, who just absolutely loves Haydock, but loves it when it's the months flying around, it has to be said. Thistlecrack, this grand horse that we were all raving about a couple of years ago, is back after another layoff. It's going to take its chance. Clansdon's Oboe for Paul Nicholls is there as well. It's one that likes the Graduation Chase previously, and the last one, that Clansdon's Oboe is the one that sets out the rest of the field. So it's a small but select field, that's for sure, as you imagine in these big top class races. So let's start off with the likes of Mike Bite. Why is this favourite over Native River? Well, there's a couple of reasons possibly. One, the ground remember the last day of Cheltenham, the ground got on turned soft there, and that was more beneficial for Native River. The other is that I think it might be fair to say, you know, that race at Cheltenham, of course, is over the just over 3¼ miles, and that uphill finish at Cheltenham does take it out plenty of horses. We've seen horses, you know, before go to the last looking okay, and then after they've jumped to last, they just struggle. And Might Bite was like that. You know, those two absolutely tore up that race right from the front, jumped spectacularly well all the way around at Cheltenham in the Gold Cup. But Native River basically at the end of the day had more stamina. You could see, you know, looking back on that one, we Might Bite when Nicky de Bonville, he was very mindful, I felt, you know, of thinking back to the previous, was it RSA Chase, where the horse just wanted to go into, I think more we're looking at the Arkle Bar than try to get to the winning line. But as we know, he managed to get back up and win that race by a nose or something. And I think maybe Nicky was mindful of that when he was in that Cheltenham Gold Cup, that he didn't want to go too early in the horse. But you know, Native River was a deserved winner. Things came right from that day. That I myself looked at these two horses, and I've always kind of went against them. You know, Native River and Might Bite. I remember sitting watching the race and saying to everybody sitting around me that would listen that no, I'm not having them. I'm not having this Might Bite. I know he's a King George winner, but I'm not having it. And you know, he went on and won the King George, but then I said, who's beat Double Shuffle or whatever. But he ran a real cracker at Cheltenham, and then followed that up with a good victory at Aintree in a course and distance, at a course that probably was more suited, and on, you know, it was heavy when he was second at Cheltenham. It was soft at Aintree, but not too bad. So from that, you're talking into yourself that the fact that it's Might Bite looks to have things in his favour this time. But as I say, you write off Native River at your peril. He's, you know, you look at his record so far, you know, that he only raced twice last season, at Cheltenham and at Newbury, won both, of course. Prior to that, of course, he was third, a very good third at that time on good ground at Cheltenham in the Gold Cup. And then you go back and you see more victories at the likes of Newbury and Chepstow. So it's obviously his first time out racing, but he's came back after, you know, you look back at its run at Newbury. Okay, the opposition wasn't the strongest as such, and he was odds-on favourite that day, but he won. And we've seen horses that maybe needed a run to get back to some sort of form. I think the layoff isn't any major concern to me. It's not a massive layoff. It's actually a lot of horses would target this race as a first run of the season. So, you know, I think that the main objective for Native River is to go and claim the Gold Cup again, as it is for most horses in this, you know, in this field. But and in the back of my mind, I think at the end of the day, that will be the target. If, you know, they had other targets in mind prior to that, they might have not just bothered running here at Haydock, even more so with the way the ground is. But I think the long-term project is with Native River is to win the Gold Cup. So to me, it's that's why I maybe favour Might Bite. Bristol de May is a good horse in himself, but I think he needs soft ground. There's no doubt about it. Thistle Crack, there's so many question marks. That himself is coming back from a long layoff, just under a year since we've seen him at Kempton. Raced reasonably well in that race, in the King George. You're really going on. You're going on a lot of things here. You're just hoping that he finds that spark again. He's a 10-year-old now, and you just think. My personal opinion is that if it doesn't run that well here in the Betfair Chase, then the Tizzards might start to think, well, what do we do with this horse? Is it maybe just time that we just drew a line under it? The horse has talent, but it will really need to hope that either Might Bite or Native River have a real duffer of a race to get involved. Clan des Obeaux at 12s, won in this card last year, the Graduation Chase. And you know, he's ran okay. He ran reasonably well, I felt, in the behind Might Bite at Aintree last time out. But again, you're expecting a lot of improvement there. But he's a young horse, and you know he's going to come into this race, and I think he could, out of all the other runners, be the one that might run well. If you maybe say one of the two leaders in the front of the market might not actually run to their ability. So say Native River maybe, you know, just they aren't too hard on him. Whereas Clan des Obeaux with Harry Cobden on board, they might just go for it and pick up the pieces at the end, and that might be one to run into a place. But I'm no big. It's terrible to say. I like you know, they're two classy horses, but I've not got them. They don't get me there in the terms of get your heart going. And you know, for me, it's a watching brief as much as anything else. This race. And it'll be an enjoyable race. It'll be intriguing to see how it pans out. But whoever comes out in this race, I don't think, unless, you know, Might Bite shows something that sparks you and thinks, right, okay, that might, you know, if he gets the ground his way come Cheltenham again, then I just have in the back of my head that this horse is actually 3 miles is its optimum, and you know, that's maybe why, as I say, Native River stick on for the Gold Cup again, probably. Not out of those that are running in there, and as I say, I think it's more the Gold Cup there. But it's going to be a really good race to watch, and make sure you tune in and watch it. Looking at Ascot, they've got a decent card tomorrow. I'm going to look at the 3:15. This is a big the Gerard Bertrand Hurst Park Handicap Chase. This Class 2, just over 2 miles. Decent price in offer here. Modus, Paul Nicholls 5-1. Barry Geraghty on board, had won at Cheltenham in October. It's sure to have a chance. It's a really tight market here. You know, you're looking at horses. 5-1 is your co-favourites, along with Simnam. Then you've got horses at 7s, 9s, 10s, 14, and then your biggest price is at the top is 20-1 for Guardfort. There, I like Duke of Navan, Nicky Richards' horse. Danny Mullins takes a lead here. We seen it last time out at Cheltenham on pretty decent ground. Ryan Day was on board and it finished second in that race. At a big price, it has to be said. So it could be that at a decent odds at 9-1 that Duke of Navan could run pretty well there. I'm kind of looking for horses that are going to appreciate. At the moment, it's good ground there, good to soft, good in places at Ascot. I know there was a bit of rain down south, but I think it was more in the southwest. So if they've avoided the rain, then I still think that this horse has, you know, I mean, Paul Nicholls has the two at the head of the market, Simnam and Modus, as I say, and I wouldn't put you off that. Maracuja's another one. I've seen him run at Perth before, and better ground, but it still has a bit. Aussie the Oscar's another one. You know, I would maybe say if anything, at the back end of last season, he showed a couple of good wins at Warwick, over 2 miles, and was a couple of weeks ago finished second in a race at Exeter. So if I was to take anything from those runs, then I think going with it, I like Aussie the Oscar, but if I have to go with anything, I think I'll go with Duke of Navan. Maybe at an each way price if you're putting on a bit more money. Duke of Navan to run well there. Right, onto the flat, as I always like to do with the Lingfield cards, and we'll look at a conditions race over 7 furlongs, the Sun Racing #1 racing site condition stakes. On the poly, breathless times for Roger Cheltenham. Adam McNamara is your favourite here. This is a decent enough gelding. who has been running pretty well on the all-weather. Last time out finished third at Kempton, but we'll come into this reasonably well. Gazawat is a useful one. This filly, it's now came over from Jean-Claude Rougier, this horse, and is now with John Gosden. No bad move there. And we've seen it a couple of times. Finished first run under John Gosden, finished second at Wolverhampton recently, actually just over a week ago. It's now got the cheek pieces on, see if that has any effect for it. And yeah, I think it makes an interesting one. Richard Fahey is a great prospector in here, who was an interesting 2-year-old, I felt, and has had an in and out season. It's fair to say, not really hit the marks. Was okay last time out, I felt, at Donny, but this is its first run on the poly track, so it'll be interesting to see how it takes to that. So there's a question mark there. Salatine's another one that catches their eye, but I'm maybe going to take a wee punt on Gazawat here for for John Gosden, and see if this filly can deliver on its second run. It's finished second twice, but for it'll be interesting to see if on its second run for John Gosden, I think Gazawat will be the one that my money will go towards. Right, that's it for me for this week, for the old CopaLoadofRacing vlog. Looking forward to tomorrow's action, especially that Betfair Chase. It's one of those races that I'm quite glad that I don't need to have a bet in, but I can really just thoroughly enjoy it for the race that it is. And it'll be, interesting to see how that race pans out and where we go from there. But there's a lot of good racing coming up. Of course, Newbury next week with the Ladbrokes Trophy, the Old Hennessy, and then we're off to Sandown for the Tingle Creek, and then back to Cheltenham, and then before you know it's Ascot and nearly Christmas. So yeah, plenty to get our teeth into over the next few weeks. But tomorrow, let's hope get a few winners, get back on form, and sets us up well for that run into Christmas. I need to get some money to spend for presents. I do. Anyway, CopaLoadofRacing, folks.